How's it going, everybody? I am the Texas Man. I hope you guys are all having a fabulous day. Please give this video a thumbs up if you guys really enjoy it. Subscribe if you guys have not already. Also, do me the biggest favor of all, hit that bell notification button so you guys don't miss out on future videos or streams here on the channel. With that, of course, we are going to be continuing on reading through my book series. This is going to be for The Nightmare Room. If you guys want a copy of this for you guys to read on your own or with me as I'm reading through the book, let me know in the comments section. Of course, you're going to have to give me your email address, and I will send you through a special email that I have set up just for this playlist and for my books. And I'll send you via email and Microsoft Word. I'll send you a link. And with that, I hope you guys all enjoy. This is going to be part one. My goal at the moment of me recording this video is to divide this book up into 3 parts. So this is part one. Interesting story. This was supposed to be a trilogy. When I was originally working on this Nightmare Room concept, there was 3 books, and only each of the books had 3 chapters. And someone decided, you know what? The first book was only like, I don't know, 10 pages. The next book was like maybe 15. Next one was like 20. And they're like, why don't you just like cut out some of the boring stuff and make it all into one book? And well, that's what we've got. And we've gotten a 38-page book. So I appreciate the guys that told me to make this into one book. And it honestly makes it a lot more of an enjoyable read. The fact that it's not broken up into 3 parts allows for it to flow better. I was able to actually get rid of a lot of unnecessary stuff and create a couple more plot lines. Not only so the trilogy of books makes more sense as one book, but it made it like I had to make it flow a little better because of continuity and stuff. So we're going to read the overall introduction, which is like an overview, and then we'll dive right on in. When a family moves from New York City, the brothers discover that their new home contains an evil secret. The parents say that there is not anything wrong with the house, but they are dead wrong. When the brothers learn of a secret room, they will discover that not every chest contains gold, but a deadly secret that will change the boys' lives forever. The nightmare continues when a strange man purchases Ted's house, plunging the world into a period of darkness, and the war between nightmare creatures and humans begin, leading into World War III. With limited time to save the human race from annihilation, the brothers travel through time to locate a scientist, battle on a train to deactivate a dangerous bomb with helicopters, watch friends and close family members die, and eventually battle the nightmare creature's leader, Dr. Doom. Get ready to read one of Armstrong's first short books before the Chronicles of Unit 4 was thought of. The Nightmare War has begun. Yeah, so real quick, I want to let you guys know that this version that you're reading, I actually ended up finishing in 2009, but I ended up starting to write the Nightmare Room trilogy way before the Chronicles of Unit 4, and everyone's like, Chronicles of Unit 4 is what you started with. I'm like, no, actually, the Nightmare Room is actually much, much older than a lot of people think. I ended up wanting to write the Nightmare Room trilogy when I was like 9, 10. I just didn't have all the pieces put together. And when you're 9 and 10 years old, you're like, writing a book is stupid. And as I got older and my ideas and my fantasy and whatnot grew, I was able to explode it into this. So, yeah. Let's roll. Chapter 1. The Nightmare Begins. I know, how original. Give us a break. It was a beautiful Monday morning, and the Taylor family was currently at war with each other. Mr. Taylor lost his job 6 days ago, and Mrs. Taylor was too lazy to work. So, the family had to move, since they couldn't afford to pay the house rent. The children of the family were 2 male twins with the names of Ted and Chad. I hate our parents, said Ted, loading their car for the move. I know this is hard for all of us, but it is for the best, said Chad. Okay, Chad, maybe hating Mom and Dad is too harsh, but I wish our parents would find a job, said Ted. They will, just in Hayes Village, Ohio, said Chad. We are ready to leave, Dad, said Ted, closing a car door. Well, let's get going, said Mr. Taylor. The family sat down in the car and began the journey to their new home. Time passed on for 2 days, and it was now 7 p.m. There it is, said Mr. Taylor. The family looked around to see a sign with the letters that formed the following words: Welcome to Hayes Village. The town was worse than what Ted and Chad thought it would be like. Piles of trash and burnt rubber were everywhere. Buildings appeared to be hit by a hydrogen bomb, and the people appeared like aliens to the blue-eyed, blonde-haired, and 10-year-old boys. Don't be afraid. I purchased a house a great distance from this part of town, said the boy's father. 10 minutes passed on as Mr. Taylor continued to drive onwards in the eerie town. Mr. Taylor drove up to a house and informed his family that they arrived at their new home. It looks great, said Chad. Looks like a 5-story prison with a curse, said Ted, still feeling repulsive about his parents' decisions. Enough of that, said Mrs. Taylor. The family unloaded the car and entered the house. The smell of the house's interior was that of baby powder and elderly funk. Now I know this isn't the best, but for the time being this will have to do, said Mr. Taylor. Until when? Asked Ted. Until your mom and I find a high-income job, said Ted's father. The family picked out their rooms, made up their beds, and all went to sleep around 10 p.m. The next day arose, and Ted awoke around 6 a.m. to see a key stapled into the ceiling. Ted stood on top of his bed, removed the staples with his fingernails, and removed the key from the ceiling. Ted looked at it and walked around the house to see which door it opened. Eventually he found it, yet Ted did not open the door. Ted dashed into Chad's room around 7 a.m. and was now standing near Chad's bed. Chad, wake up, said Ted. What is it? Asked Chad. I found a key, and it works for only one room in the house, said Ted. So you're the noise I've been hearing walking around the house for the past hour, said Chad. Yes, that would be me, said Ted. Okay, what do you want me to do? Asked Chad. I thought you might want to come see what's in the room on the 5th floor, said Ted. Sure, said Chad. The boys left Chad's bedroom and walked up the wooden stairway until they finally reached the 5th floor. The boys walked a couple of feet, and then they stopped, for footsteps were coming from below them. Ted entered the key into the door hole and pushed it open. Quick, get in, said Ted to his brother. The brothers entered the room and bolted the door shut. The brothers were completely silent, for their father, mother, or both were upstairs. Why are we hiding? Asked Chad to his brother softly. If Mom and Dad find us, they'll shoot us, said Ted. You mean they'll ground us to our room, said Chad. Of course. You know what I meant, said Ted. The boys remained silent until the sound of the footsteps disappeared down the wooden stairway. That was too close, said Ted. I agree with you there, said Bro. I'm sorry. I agree with you there, Bro, said Chad. The brothers tried to open the door, but it would not open. Try the key, said Chad. Ted inserted the key, but nothing happened. Search the room for a hammer or something to break the door down, said Ted. The boys split up to search the room. Ted started around the bed and the cabinets, while Chad searched the closet. Hey, Ted, I found something, said Chad. Chad pulled out a large closet covered with dust and a spider from the closet. It needs a key to be opened, said Chad to his twin brother. Ted inserted the key he had to the room's door and turned it slowly. Then, out of the chest, a mirror flew into the air and landed on the wooden floorboards. What was that? Asked Ted. The brothers walked towards the mirror, and, when Chad was about a foot away from the mirror's handle, Ted pushed his brother, being funny. Chad leaped up and came down on the mirror. What was that for? Asked Chad. Zoom! Ted was frozen stiff, for his brother had vanished before his eyes. Chad! Yelled Ted. The nightmare had sadly begun. Chapter 2. Evil Mirror. It had been 15 years since Chad Taylor vanished in Hayes Village, Ohio. It has been told that he left his family and drowned in a nearby river. Sadly, Mr. and Mrs. Taylor died many years later. Ted, along with his wife Sarah and his 6-year-old son Ryan, received the house and more from Ted's parents' will. Currently, the Taylor family, with Ted as the father, was journeying to the house, where they planned to sell it for a sum of money. You sure that you want to enter that house again?" asked Mrs. Taylor. "Yes, I need to do this," said Ted. "Why?" asked Ted's wife. "I know the truth about my brother vanishing," said Ted. Suddenly, Ted, the driver of the car, pressed the brakes and stopped the car. "I'm okay, Mom," said Ryan out loud. "Why did we stop here, honey?" asked Sarah Taylor to her husband. "Look outside. Don't you see my brother?" said Ted. Both Sarah and Ryan looked to the front of the car to see nothing. Sarah was beginning to think that she had married a crazy man with a sixth sense of seeing the dead. "Look, he's coming to my door," said Ted. Sarah and Ryan watched Ted closely and very slowly as Ted's door began to open by itself. Within 10 seconds the door closed and Ted continued driving the car while Sarah and Ryan were in shock for another 2 minutes. "What happened back there?" asked Sarah, with a concerned face, and breaking the silence. My brother wants us to visit him on the house's 5th floor," said Ted. The family arrived at the house 30 minutes later and began putting their possessions in separate rooms. While Sarah and Ryan were distracted with unloading food, Ted walked up the stairway to the 5th floor. Ted was standing in front of the door where he saw his brother, Chad, vanish. A breeze touched Ted's face, turning his face to the color of a blue for a few moments, and Ted looked to see a nearby window open in the hallway. "Here it goes," said Ted. Ted put the key he found 15 years ago in the keyhole and turned the knob. The door opened and Ted remained still, for absolutely not one object was inside of the room. Everything besides the mirror that Chad stepped on. "Beware, you're in for a nightmare," said a voice coming from inside of the room. Ted looked around to see nobody in the room and walked inside of the room. "I'm going crazy," said Ted. Ted picked up the mirror from the floor and suddenly the house began to shake. Ted dropped the mirror on the floor and it did not shatter. The house remained still and the mirror began to shake as if something was attempting to escape. Lights began to appear out of the mirror, and seconds later, Ted could see a man standing on the mirror. Sarah and Ryan entered the room, confused about what was going on. The lights disappeared, and the man stepped off of the mirror. "Who are you?" asked Ted. The man looked at Sarah and Ryan, then at Ted. The man walked towards Ted with a smile on his face, and gave Ted a hug. "It's good to see you again, brother," said the man. Ted pushed the man away from him and asked, "You mean that you're my twin brother, Chad?" "Yes," replied the man. "If you're my brother, then tell me what my favorite sport and ice cream flavor is," said Ted. "Your favorite sport is football, and your favorite ice cream flavor is strawberry," said the man. Ted grabbed the man and gave him another hug. It's, I don't know what to say," said Ted. "It's great to see you again, brother," said the man. "Could someone explain what's going on?" said Sarah. "This is my brother," said Ted. "How? He drowned." "Didn't he?" said Sarah. "I've been trapped inside of the Revolution, or the Evil Mirror, for the past 15 years, and the voices Ted has been hearing was me trying to inform him that I was still alive," said Chad. "How did you escape?" asked Ted. "I'm not sure, but I think the Revelation Mirror can only keep a prisoner for 15 years, said Chad. "Now, could someone inform me what has happened since my disappearance?" requested Chad. All 4 Taylors left the room of the past nightmare and took the stairway to the kitchen table to discuss past, present, and future events. The discussion lasted for 5 hours. Chad learned that his parents were dead. Ted was here to sell the house, and many historical events, including the end of World War II several years ago. "So what happens now? I mean with me?" asked Chad. "You can live with us until you find a job and home of your own," said Ted. "Thank you," said Chad. The family left the kitchen and walked to their rooms, so Chad decided to sleep in the living room. During the night, Ted could hear his brother singing from his room on the second floor. If you're tall, you'll fall into a brick wall. When you get up, you'll see a spy with a bottle of ketchup, and you'll die because of that spy. And don't forget to beware, for you're all in for a nightmare. Ted went to sleep, unaware of the fact that his house currently had a nightmare, and was singing his target's death song. They'll be perfect, said Chad, carrying some items upstairs. I don't know what Chad is up to, but I plan to find out tomorrow, said Sarah, watching Chad walk to the 5th floor from the adult's room. A new day dawned, and Sarah and Ryan awoke to see Ted and his brother making pancakes, scrambled eggs, and bacon for breakfast. During the meal, Chad departed from the table and walked up the stairway until he reached the 5th floor, with his hands around his head and stomach. Ted, last night I overheard your brother talking about us and saying they'll be perfect, said Sarah to her husband. You're saying that my brother wishes to kill us or something, said Ted. Or something is what I would vote for, said Ryan. Maybe that's the plan. I mean, what if the revolution mirror changed him mentally, said Sarah. Chapter 3. The Madman. Ted thought about what his wife said and finally believed her. I'll go check on him while you start the car, said Ted. Kaboom! Stay with Ryan, said Ted to his wife. Ted opened the front door to see a nightmare creature standing in the remains of his car. At last, I have the power to eliminate you, brother, said the creature. The revolution had turned Chad into a nightmare creature with 4 arms, 4 legs, a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, extreme speed and strength, and wings, which were located on his arms and legs. Chad was now at least 7 feet tall and extremely dangerous. Run! yelled Ted. Sarah and Ryan hid inside of the cabinets in the kitchen while Ted raced to the 5th floor of the house. Kaboom! Chad was ripping the house apart easily with his strength. Kaboom! Chad made a large enough hole to enter the house in his evil form. Ted, show yourself and your family will live, said Chad, still in a human voice. You want me? Then come and get me, said Ted, echoing his voice from the 5th floor. Chad transformed into his human form and began the run to the 5th floor. Ted entered the nightmare room where Chad had placed items from the kitchen and where the revolution was waiting for someone else to capture. Chad entered the nightmare room with the revolution mirror in Ted's right hand. Any last words, Ted? asked Chad after transforming back into his evil nightmare form. Yes, replied Ted. If you're tall, you will fall into a trap, said Ted. Ted tossed the revolution near Chad's feet, and Chad jumped to evade the object. However, Chad came down only to land on the revolution. Chad vanished again, and the mirror trapped him inside of it for another 15 years. Ted picked up the revolution and threw it at the wall, resulting in the mirror's destruction, Chad's forever imprisonment, and the Earth's safety. So long, madman, said Ryan. So long, my brother, forever, said Ted. And that's going to do it for me, guys. Look forward to Part 2 coming out very soon. Hope you guys all enjoyed. Should be able to only have to do this book into 3 parts. If it changes, I'll let you guys know in the future. You guys all have a good one. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.